Okay, good morning, class. Today will be the topic is about recipe development and standardization. It's in lesson 9. It's also posted on our Google Classroom already. The copy of this one, so you can have your advanced study for this one. Okay, recipe development. Okay, okay, recipe development. A standardized recipe is important, but only few takes time to develop or even use it because food production operations are characterized by a number of chefs and cooks preparing different menus, items, and employees constantly turning over. Thus, it is important to develop standard recipe. So, a standard recipe is very important lalo sa business and sa food establishment. So, developing of this one can be very important lalo na dun sa um, restaurants which has too many or from time to time changes their staff and their chefs and cooks. So we have to standardize the and develop recipes for food establishment. Okay, reason behind recipe development. Again, developing new recipes are and improving existing ones ensures progress and efficiency for food service establishment. Okay, I'll give example for this one. Yung madali na lang sa Jollibee. Actually, ang Jollibee has a standard um, recipe for each product they have. Tama po ba? Okay. Jollibee kasi or any food establishment, dapat meron kayong standardized or developed na recipes. So, example dun sa chicken ng Jollibee, um, certain po yung flavor niya, exclusively for Jollibee only. So, yung recipe nun is sa kanila lang. Pero, dahil nga, yung lasa ng product nila is patok sa masa or tinatangkilik ng mga Filipinos, bumibenta sila. So, ibig sabihin, pag bumibenta sila, may profit sila. Tapos yung progress nila is pataas. Okay? In recipe development, we have response to market trends and changes like yung example ko kanina. Response to changes in food ingredients and equipments. So, with this one, example, kung madali lang gawin yung recipes, um, you can purchase or a company can purchase ingredients and equipments based sa recipes nila. Okay, you cannot, syempre, logic lang, hindi mo gagamitin yung equipments na hindi naman patok dun sa bebenta mo. Right? So, example, um, Jollibee ulit tayo para madali. Okay. Ang Jollibee is may fryers. So, doon yung equipment sila, bibili sila kasi meron sila mga fried items. Correct? So, based doon, kailangan yung mga equipments and ingredients is swak dun sa business mo or sa business establishment. Okay? Next is operational efficiency. When you say operational efficiency, this one, every work or every procedures na gagawin ng staff, ng kitchen, ng chef na ayon doon sa product na ibebenta ng isang food establishment. Okay, next is cost efficient. Siyempre, yung mga cost efficient na products or mga steps and procedures, direkta ka na doon sa gagawin mo. Okay, hindi ka nagagastos ng mga iba pa para sa hindi mo naman siya magagamit sa business establishment o sa business mo or sa restaurant. Okay? Okay, number one, let's tackle each one of this. Response to market trend and changes. Okay, changes in customer preference in food brought a very dynamic market. People are looking for a new gastronomical experience and patronizing innovative menu ideas. So sa atin kasi, since inis tayo ng mga foods all over the world, um, prone tayo sa mga innovations or mga pagbabago sa mga food. Okay, let's try example ng adobo. Okay, sino marunong magluto dito ng adobo? Okay, anyone? Naririnig pa rin po ba? Anyone
Yes
po?
po.
Yes, manlangit. Marunong ka magluto ng adobo?
Yes po, sir.
Okay, anong adobo yung kaya mong lutuin? Kasi
Adobo.
maraming klaseng adobo, di ba? May
Opo,
adobo.
sir. May adobong ano po, may patatas. Pwede rin pong may pinya.
Yon, tama, very good. So marami tayong klaseng adobo. Um, may pinya, merong patatas, yung iba may saging. Okay, yung iba ano lang gagawin nila, hindi suka yung lalagay kundi kalamansi. Okay? So from that, nag-innovate tayo ng recipe natin. Matatawag nating our own recipe or halimbawa meron tayong restaurants, ito yung specialty natin doon sa isang restaurant. So, continuous innovation siya. Yung recipe yun ay ipatok doon sa gatong restaurant. Okay? Example, yung adobong mais with saging na saba. Okay, patok yan doon sa certain restaurant. Okay? So, from response to the market na trends and changes, kung ano yung patok, kung ano yung mabenta sa customer, sa people, yun yung ibibenta natin. So, we need to develop certain recipes for that one. Example for a restaurant. Okay? With that. The second one is response to changes in food ingredients and equipments. So, when you say response to changes in food ingredients, changes in technology and equipments bring new food stuff such as convenience and premixes. Okay, they should simplify and improve both the procedures in making the product in the quality of food and service. So, kung dati ang product lang ang may mga procedures na mahirap gawin, pero since may technology tayo, yung ibang product is madali nang gawin. Okay, example, sa mga processed foods, madali na siyang gawin tulad ng grinding o paggigiling. Since meron na tayo mga grinder na high-tech, madali na tayong gumawa ng mga processed foods which is simplify compare sa dating procedures. Okay? Okay, another example is the process of siomai making. So, dati, ang siomai ginagawang mano-mano. Pero may gumagawa pa rin naman ngayon. Pero as of today, kasi may technology na tayo, pwede nang gawin ng siomai through machines or technologies without having too many process. Okay? Did you get my point? So, through using technologies and equipments, nag-response tayo dun sa changes sa paggamit ng mga ganun. Okay? Dahil may mga technology tayo, yung quality ng food natin is standardized, uh, efficient. Kung pagdating sa taste, pare-pareho siya. Okay? Third one is the operational efficiency. Okay? For food production establishment, need to make profit to continue its operation. Through recipe development, work can simplify result in a more productive flow of operation. So, when you say operational efficiency, so yung process na susundan natin is more effective, okay, more efficient in terms ng how how the process go or the procedures go in the process. So, example, sa food production, since nag-a-adapt tayo ng mga technologies, hindi na kailangan nung ibang procedures na mahirap. Some big companies establish their operation with the use of technologies. Okay? The more efficient yung technologies na gagamitin natin tsaka yung mga staff, mas maganda yung operation na mangyayari. At the same time, yung profit din po, walang masasayang. Okay? Cost efficiency, okay. Reviews recipes for update and possible savings. Okay, substitute can be found in revision in portion size or ingredients should reduce cost and therefore highlight profit. Okay, when you say cost efficiency again, okay, it highlights profit. So, mas malaki yung profit kung wala tayong nagagastos na hindi naman dapat pagkagastusan, lalo sa isang certain company. Okay? Siyempre, pag efficient ka, mas malaki yung savings mo. Okay? Let's go with the recipe development process. Okay, any questions with the first topic po? Okay, kung wala, let's proceed to recipe development process. Okay, the first one, develop the recipe ingredients. So, when you say develop, since existing na ang ating mga ingredients, we have to develop kung paano siya gagamitin sa certain recipe. Okay? A well-defined ratio must be maintained among ingredients. So, when she ratio, okay, sa recipe may mga sukat yung mga ingredients natin, right? So, kapag iba yung sukat ng isa, halimbawa yung salt na parami, mag-iiba yung lasa dun sa recipe mo, right? Dapat meron tayong well-defined ratio sa ating mga ingredients. Okay, consider the likes and dislikes of customer. Okay, halimbawa ayaw ng isang customer na sobrang alat ng food, o consider natin yon. Um, gusto ng customer natin ay mga Korean foods like spicy ones and kimchi's and samgyups. Right? So we're going to consider most of the what customer likes. Okay? Okay, availability and seasonable of the ingredients. So we're going to consider also the availability and of ingredients. So if ingredients is in season, like fruits or vegetables, you have to consider those things. Okay? And combination of texture and color. Okay, in recipe development, dapat meron tayong um, pleasing to the eye, texture of the food, color of the food used. So, dapat may variation tayo ng color na pleasing to the eyes ng customer. Lalo na pagdating sa restaurants. That's why we have plating. Okay? Food carving. We're going to develop those ones. So, already taught na last stems about those topics. Example for baking, we have designed um, breads, cakes, which is very pleasing to the eye. Okay, for recipe ingredients, you have to consider all of this one. Okay, next is development of methods and procedures. Okay, ano po yung first na diniscuss natin? Ano po yung number one? Sino po makakasagot? Okay, tatawag na lang ako.
Ingredients, sir.
Yes, ingredients ang una natin considered. And number two, ano po yung consider natin? Thank you, Charlotte.
Methods and procedures.
Okay, methods and procedures. Very good. Thank you, Charlotte. I hope yung iba makapag participate. Hindi naman sayang sa data yung pagsagot natin. Okay, development methods and procedures. So, it's important to consider this one. Okay, the production process must be visualized. So, kung ano yung production process na gagawin mo sa certain food recipes on a certain food establishments or restaurants, dapat mag-visualize mo kung paano yung production process na mangyayari. Okay? All procedures and sequence must be correct. So, in cooking, dapat all of the procedures are correct. Kapag nagkamali ka ng isa, mag-iiba na yung lasa ng food. Okay? Everyone here has experience of cooking, right? So, last sem or the previous semester, nagluto tayo, nag-bake tayo. Tama po ba? Meron po ba dito na naka-experience ng sinunod mo naman lahat ng procedures, pero pagdating, hindi ganun yung nangyari doon sa ano. Example sa baking, sinunod mo naman lahat ng procedures, pero hindi naman siya naging ganun na ina-expect mo. Okay, example, yung naka-experience dito. Okay, example, halimbawa, gumawa kayo ng pandesal. May gumawa po ba ng pandesal dito? Meron po. Yung mga previous sem natin sa baking or cakes. Okay? Meron po ba? Kaya I'll give example lang. Halimbawa, gumawa tayo ng pandesal. Tapos yung pandesal is, yung end product natin is matigas and pwedeng iba to. Okay? So, sobrang tigas niya. So, dapat, in this process, alam natin kung ano yung each step or method na gagawin natin. Okay. Although nasusunod naman siya, pero in some way, meron pa rin tayo nakikitang mali na hindi talaga siya na-solve. So, dapat yung method and procedures are proper sequence, must be simple to follow and require minimum effort. That's the next one. Is simple to follow and has minimum effort. Must take into account the use and availability of equipments and tools. Okay, so in recipe development, dapat i-take into consider natin yung available equipments natin and tools. Okay? Halimbawa, meron tayong isang product, for example, is the steaks. So, dapat yung gagamitin natin yung mga fryer, griller for that product is available sa atin or sa company natin or sa restaurant natin para makagawa tayo ng standard um, recipe for steak. So maraming different kinds of steak. So marami ding style ng pagluluto niya. So dapat available yung equipment natin. Okay, again, do sa two, kailangan develop natin yung methods and procedures. So kailangan visualize natin kung ano yung gagawin nating procedure for this one, for certain recipe, and the methods how can we use. So, kailangan simple siya and available equipments. Okay? Let's proceed with the third one. Okay. Can you read the third one? Who can read the third one? Okay? Hindi pwedeng basahin yung number 3. Ang langit, can you read?
Number 3,
Yes po.
develop packaging and serving presentation. Best tasting dishes are incomplete without mouth-watering presentation. Product visual display is how the product will be plated or packaged for presentation to guests.
Okay, thank you.
Increase
See, continue po.
increases not only the palatability but also the sellability of the product.
Okay, the third one is all about packaging and serving presentation. Okay? So, lahat tayo nakapag-food process na dito. Food processing. Tama ba? Naka-food processing na lahat dito. Okay, sa food processing, meron tayong um, yung packaging niya, kailangan maganda, visual displays kasi yon. Tapos yung presentation niya dapat pleasing to the eye, hindi siya madumi, hindi siya um, magulo tingnan. Okay. Basta maayos siya, dapat yung packaging natin. Tapos yung labels, properly placed. Okay, yung discuss this about saleability of the product. Dapat patok siya sa market or mabibili talaga siya. Yung unang tingin mo pa lang doon sa packaging niya, maganda na since ganun yung labanan natin pagdating sa business food establishment. So, dapat yung presentation pa lang, packaging niya, maayos at maganda ang pagkakagawa. Okay? Okay, if it is in dining, dapat yung plate presentation is properly made or pleasing to the eye kung sino man yung kakain na yan. Okay? Okay, ano po yung number 3? Yung maliin? Ano po yung number 3? Ang langit.
Develop packaging and serving presentation.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So, number 3 is develop packaging. So, we need to develop that. Okay, next one is, you can read next one. Okay, next one po. Number 4, what we're going to develop.
Market table name, sir.
Okay, develop. Thank you, Charlotte. Develop marketable name. So, pictures, yung nakita nyo dyan, establish na yung ganyang label. So, we need to develop our own label. Okay, by the way, in your project kasi, you're going to develop your own recipes. So, from the first step, dapat meron kayong market name. So, or yung brand name. Okay, matching names that is both descriptive and catchy should be developed to complement the recipe. So, kung ano yung maganda mag-isip nyo do sa brand name nyo, dapat descriptive siya and catchy. So, dapat pagtingin pa lang ng customers, maganda yung impression nila dun sa sa product nyo. Okay, example, if your product is milk tea, marami na tayong classic milk tea. So you have to create your own milk tea name, which is dapat catchy siya sa customer. In a positive way, kasi some brand names has double meanings on it. So I hope you know what I'm trying to say. Kasi yung ibang brand names may double meaning. Okay? So in your relation with your final project, you have to make your own name or create your company name or brand name. Kasama po kasi yun sa magiging project nyo po. So, sa product development or recipe development and standardization. Okay? Number 5 is standardize the recipe. Okay? The recipe has to be tested, adjusted, and written in a standard recipe format. Okay, first one is the recipe should be tested, adjusted, then written in standard recipe format. Okay, we have standard recipes, right? Pero in creating our own recipes, should be tested, adjusted, and written as a standard recipe format. Okay, I'll give example for a big companies like yung Jollibee, Chowking, McDonald's. So they create certain recipes for their products. Okay, let's take example na lang sa chicken. Okay, big companies standardize their recipe. So dapat in every stores that they have, in every restaurants that they have, same po yung lasa na gagawin nila. Okay? They have product development team for this one. Okay, for certain product they were going to develop, meron silang sariling team na nagde-develop. So, in that team, nagte-test sila kung ano yung magandang lasa for this one, kung ano yung magandang presentation for this one, kung ano yung magiging kalalabasan dun sa certain recipe na gagawin nila. Okay? Ina-adjust yon in terms of the taste, presentation, process of cooking, and written in a standard recipe format. So yung standard recipe format, this one is brought to each stores. They train their staff to do specific standard recipe format. Okay, may nag-work po ba dito sa restaurant and fast food or any food establishment? May working student po ba dito na nag-work o nag-work sa food establishment or sa catering or sa fast food po? Meron po ba? Meron po ba nag-work dito sa food establishment? Okay, parang wala po. Sige. So, through standardized recipe, recipe's yield is also adjusted to the most frequent production needed. So, each yield, kailangan meron din tayong standard yields. That's why it's called standard yields kasi ito yung dapat na siniserve, ito yung dapat na portion, ito yung dapat na way for a certain product, o ito dapat timbang for a certain product. Okay? You take example, yun natin yung Jollibee or McDo. Um, yung mga products nila, may standard timbang siya after cooking po. So, kung papasin nyo yung drinks, simula sa drinks, sa foods, even the condiments, may standard silang sinusunod. Okay, example, ketchup can be 5%, 5 grams per serving. Okay, gravy has 10 grams per serving per piece of chicken. Okay, yung fries nila may certain timbang din bago iserve sa customer, a dine-in or takeout. Okay? Also yung ibang product nila. Okay, ano po yung number 5? Okay, ano po yung number 5? Rafael, nandiyan ka ba?
Standardized recipe.
Okay, standardize the recipe. Thank you, Rafael. Okay, tapos na tayo sa recipe development. We'll have the next topic about recipe standardization. Okay, may question po ba sa recipe development? Okay. Ma'am Kate? Okay, sa'yo na to, Ma'am Kate. Tama po.
Okay na, sir?
Okay, so the next topic will be discussed about recipe standardization by Ma'am Kate po. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir Delmindo. Oh, sarado yung ano. Okay, good morning, BIT. Naririnig ba ako?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, malinaw naman, malakas.
Yes po.
Okay, so after the recipe development, we will now go with the recipe standardization. Any idea about recipe standardization? Since nabanggit na to ni Sir kanina. Again, what is recipe standardization or standardized recipe? Anyone? Wala? Okay, so next slide, sir. Okay, so standardized recipes. These are the recipes that have been tested and revised to repeatedly produce good results. So this ensures that the production is consistent and successful. Okay, sige sir. Next slide po. Okay, so list down the qualities of a standardized recipe. First, tried and tested. standardized recipes undergo a standardization process. It consists of development, testing, adjusting, and retesting. So, ang mga standardized recipe is done with the process of testing, adjusting, and retesting. So, ang standardized recipe, it is um, officially tried and tested na siya since madami siyang pinagdaanan no na para ma-develop yung standardized recipe na yun. Okay, so number 2, the end product of a standardized recipe is consistent in quality, flavor, and appearance, independence of the skill level of the production staff using the recipe. So since ang recipe is already standardized, so the result of this is uniform product. So pare-parehas yung kakalabasan niya, since standardized na nga, for example, sa chicken fillet ng McDo. 'Di ba kung mapapansin niyo, isa lang naman yung lasa niya. So, it is one of the example of standardized recipe since pare-parehas or uniform yung kanyang size, quality niya, flavor, and then yung appearance, no, sa color. Next slide, sir. Okay. So, standardized recipe, standard yield or portion size product. So, hindi lang siya pare-pareha sa appearance, sa color, and then sa taste. So, ang standardized recipe is pare-parehas yung kanyang portion size. So, the standardized recipe has been adjusted to produce a yield based on the production needs of the operation. So, the yield must be consistent since yung ang recipe natin is already standardized. So, may sinusunod na, no? May pinaka-guide na yung paggawa natin ng isang product, for example. So, ang yield niya or portion size niya is pare-parehas din. Hindi pwedeng, di ba napaka-unfair naman yun pagka umorder tayo tapos yung sa kasama natin malaki, di ba? Sa atin maliit. Yun. So, dapat pag standardized na yung ating recipe, ang size is iisa na lang or pare-parehas na yung ating yield portion or ang ating yield size of the product. Next slide, sir. Okay, so standardized recipe, it is written in a standard format. It must be recorded in a form that best suit the production activity. So the use of recipe cards organized in a recipe file or in a computer database. So, mamaya papakita ko sa inyo yung tatlong klase ng ating format sa pagsulat ng ating standardized recipe. So, mahalaga na ang ating recipe is written in a standard format. Next slide, sir. Okay, so tapos na tayo sa ating quality. Let us proceed with the benefits of a standardized recipe. Ano nga ba yung mga advantages or benefits of it? It is one of the most important tools in assuring high and consistent quality, reliability, and controlling costs in institutional food production. So, pag standardized na yung recipe, katulad nga ng sinabi kanina, dinevelop siya, and then na-retest. Madami siyang pagdadaanan na test, no? Bago siya matawag na standardized recipe. So, doon, ma-assure natin na mataas yung quality niya since na-retest na siya. Hindi siya masyadong maalat, hindi masyadong matamis, di ba? So, balance lang. Balance lang yung magiging recipe. And then, consistent yung quality niya since ang mga ano kasi, a standardized recipe, dumadaan siya sa mga, tama ba ko sir yung sa DTI ba? Tama? DTI? Nakalimutan ko lang yung pinaka ano ng mga product name. May pinagdadaanan siya. ISO ba 'yon? Tama ba, sir?
Ay, tama yun. It's international standard siya po.
Ayun. So, dadaan siya sa ganun, no? May kita natin yan minsan, lalo na sa mga canned products. Napansin nyo ba yon sa mga canned products natin, especially? Meron doon yung ano, 'di ba, yung para sa mga Muslim, ayan, may kita natin yun doon na pwede lang siya sa kanila. So, kasi 'di ba may mga Muslim na hinahanap yung tatak na yon na ibig sabihin is pwede sa kanila as Muslim. Kasi 'di ba bawal sa kanila yung mga pork. So, isa 'yan sa mga benefits of a standardized recipe. Any question so far? James, okay, maingay. Any question? Wala po. Okay, so proceed tayo sa benefits. Yan. These are the advantages of standardized recipe. First, eliminates guesswork. List down those advantages because we're having Q&A later about our discussion. Next is the consistency and high quality products. Eases costing. Eases training of staff. Minimizes leftover and waste. Prevents dependence on one staff. Saves time. And lastly, facilitates control. So we will discuss it one by one. So let us proceed first with the first advantage, which is the guesswork or eliminates guesswork. So guesswork is replaced by accuracy. Guesswork should be eliminated by developing a standardized recipe that would be used by the production. So pag sinabi natin guesswork, mababawasan yung ating kumbaga tansya-tansya, no? Yung madami tayong haka-haka na paano kung ganito, mas maraming asin, mas maalat, mas matamis ba to, mas mapait. So, yun yun. Pag standardized na yung recipe natin, wala na tayong ganun. Sure na tayo sa bawat ginagawa natin kasi may sinusunod na tayong standard recipe or standard also with the procedure. Next, sir. Okay, so number 2, customers are assured of consistency, high quality products. Okay, so it ensures quality, quantity, and taste of product. Satisfaction, the time visit. Doctoring is avoided. This builds patron that regularly frequent the establishment because of this reliability. So dito, standardized, again na banggit ko na to kanina, no? Pag standardized na yung ating recipe, so assured na yung ating high quality or consistent high quality sa taste, sa size, sa appearance. So kasi 'di ba pagka especially sa mga pagawaan, pinupuntahan yan ng mga iba't ibang department na i-check nila kung safe ba tong kainin or kailan ang expiration niya, 'di ba? Mapapansin natin yan doon. Kailan siya ginawa? Yan. So, ayun yung second benefits. Okay, third, easier to cost. Sa tingin nyo, bakit mas madaling i-compute or mas madali tayong mag-costing pagka standardized na ang recipe? Anyone? Remeline, any
Yes,
idea?
ma'am. Ano po yung tanong, ma'am?
Mas madaling i-costing ang standardized recipe.
Kasi po meron na po siyang list na yung measurement tapos yung mga ingredients po.
Okay, very good, Remelin. So, nabanggit na niya. Babasahin ko, wait. The standardized recipe is prerequisite to recipe costing because it contains an exact list and measurement of ingredients. So, it is easily to cost, the cost per portion determined, and the serving portion price. So, since our recipe is already standardized, so all the recipes are or all the ingredients are already listed together with the measurement. So, tama, si Remelie. Nakasulat na yung measurement niya. So, makikita natin kung ilan lang yung kailangan, di ba? So, mas madali tayo makapag-costing. Pwede tayo dito makapag-costing in advance since alam nyo na yung price nito. Ayan. So, mas mapapadali tayo pag standardize ang ating recipe. Kasi pagka pabago-bago yung recipe or walang standard or wala tayong sinusunod na standard na recipe is nag-iiba siya, di ba? Minsan napapasobra yung bili natin ng isang ingredients, minsan naman napapakulang, di ba? So, this is one of the best advantages or benefits of a standardized recipe. Easier to cost. Number 4, easier to train workers. Sa tingin nyo, bakit mas madaling mag-train ng workers pag standardize yung recipe? De Vera. De Vera, nandiyan si De Vera. Any
Yes po,
volunteer?
yes po, ma'am.
Okay, De Vera.
I think
Why
po
do you
ano po,
think it is easier to train workers with standardized recipe?
mas limited po yung gagawin.
Okay, other answer? Other idea?
May sinusunod po silang mga guide kung paano gawin, kung paano po yung mga hakbang na gagawin, yung mga steps, ganun po.
Okay, correct. So, parehas naman yung sagot nyo. Tama, no? So, ano nga ulit yung sagot ni De Vera?
Mas limited po yung gagawin po.
Okay, correct. Limited in a way na sulat na kasi yung procedure, no? So, wala nang iba pang gagawin bukod doon sa sinusunod nating standard procedure or standard recipe. Correct. Then with Remelin, na may sinusunod na kasi tayong standardized recipe as well as the procedure. That is why it is easier to train workers. Unlike kasi pagka hindi standardized, unlike kasi pag hindi standardized yung ating recipe, 'di ba, paiba-iba yung magiging, hindi natin alam kung ano yung tamang pag-train sa mga tao since wala tayong standard recipe and procedure. So, this is one of the benefits of having standardized recipe. Next, sir. So, yeah, number 5, minimizes leftover and waste. Actual production needs can accurately be determined, guiding the amount of purchases and requisition, as well as the amount of ingredients used, minimizing losses due to spoilage or overproduction. So, since kaya na nating since nakalist down na yung ating ingredients and the measurement, so may iwasan na natin yung may sobrang mga ingredients since meron na tayong sinusunod na standard, no? Mababawasan yung mga leftover, maiiwasan yung pagkakulang nung ating kailangan na ingredients. And then also maiiwasan din yung pagka-sira na ingredients. Since pag sinusunod natin ang standardized recipe, sakto lahat, no? walang matitira and walang masasayang. So this is one of the benefits of having standardized recipe. Let us proceed with the next. Number 6, avoids dependence on any one personnel. Who has the idea about this? Avoids dependence on any one personnel. Ano pagkakaintindi nyo dito? Anyone? Jelly Ann. Andyan pa ba? Wala?
Ma'am, wala po.
Okay. How about Raymark? Kyokson? Are you there, Raymark? Any idea? Wala? How about Russell? 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 Wala again? Angelica? Angelica? Devera, do you have any idea? Okay, so I think you don't have. So number 6, avoids dependence on any one personnel. The information can be accessed by other food production staff that may need it. Or this may be recipe card or database. So this safeguard operation from being dependent on any one workers as well as ensure the continuity of the product quality even if workers move on the other jobs or challenges. So having standardized, okay, mainit. Having standardized recipe, this avoids dependence on any one personnel. So, di ba meron tayong mga mga, for example, nanonood ba kayo sa SpongeBob? Di ba meron sila doong iniingatang secret recipe na hindi makuha-kuha ni Plankton. So, kung makikita nyo doon, pag meron tayong, or meron tayong standardized recipe, this means the whole production, alam kung paano yun gawin. Katulad ng mga tauhan niya, SpongeBob, and then ni Squidward. So, alam nila kung paano gawin yung patties nila or yung burger nila. Hindi lang si Mr. Crab or hindi lang yung nakakataas, hindi lang yung nag-imbento nung recipe na yon or naka-develop nung recipe na yon ang may alam, kundi lahat ng nasa production. So, ayun nga, this avoids dependence on any one personnel. Kasi 'di ba may mga may mga chef tayo na personal chef especially sa mga mayayaman, 'di ba? Pagka may ganong personal chef, siya lang yung makakaluto nung dish na yon since siya lang yung nakakaalam nung recipe niya. So, unlike sa mga production na naka-post na or may sinusunod sila na standardized recipe, so lahat sila alam yung gagawin or lahat sila makakagawa nung recipe na yon since these are posted or ang lahat ng nasa production is alam yung standardized recipe. Next, sir. Okay. Requires less time for mise en place and preparation. The testing of the recipe leads to simpler and more organized work procedures. So this save productivity time by simplifying what needs to be done for mise en place, preparation, and production. Again, since we have the standardized recipe, we are following the standard procedure. So, makakabawas ito ng ating time sa preparation since masusunod natin yung lahat. No? Wala tayong iba pang gagawin katulad nga nung sinabi ni De Vera kanina. Wala tayong extrang gagawin or may papasok na gagawin since meron tayong sinusunod na proper procedure or meron tayong standardized recipe. So this is one of the benefits of having standardized recipe. It saves time. Okay, next, sir. So in facilities control, we have two. The first is the consumption control. Standardized recipe makes it possible to compare the actual consumption of the operation with its projected consumption. Thus, there is no need to hire a controller. So dito, when we have a standardized recipe or procedure, we can control na yung consumption, yung dami nung kailangan nating product, and then makokontrol din natin yung dami ng gagawin nating product. So actual consumption, this is the actual needed ingredients that we will consume. And then the projected is kung naalala niyo yung forecast natin, yan, same term with the projected consumption. For the letter B, in facilitate control, okay, the next is dietary control. Dietary requirements can also be controlled through the standardized recipe. So the recipe can be adjusted to meet the special diet needed by the patron. So this is one of the benefits of having standardized recipe. You can adjust, or we have the dietary control. Next slide, sir. So this is how this recipe standardized. List down this procedure. The first is develop recipe. So in developing recipe, you have first to list down or develop the ingredients needed, the methods or procedures on how to make it, also the packaging, the presentation, and the name. So once you think about those to develop the recipe, the second thing you do is to test the recipe. So in testing the recipe, you will test the flavor, and also the odor, the texture, the presentation, the practicality, or kung gaano kabilis natin gagawin yon, yung naisip natin na product na yan, kung gaano katipid natin siya magagawa, or gaano karami yung magagasto, sando na yon. Procedure and methods, build. So those are the first two steps. The third is, so when we already test the recipe, of course, sa first testing naman natin is hindi siya perfect agad. So hindi tayo mapapakali na parang itatry natin, no, kung mas maraming, for example, sa tocino. For example, mas maraming salt ba, mas okay? Mas maraming sugar ba, mas okay? So yon, i-adjust natin yung recipe natin. As well as the procedure and the sa procedure naman is kung nakita natin na medyo mahaba yung procedure ng ating ginagawang recipe. So pwede natin diyan adjust kung may maisip pa tayong ibang paraan na mas mapapabilis. So after nun, magre-retest tayo. Kung dinagdagan mo na, for example, more salt na yung nilagay mo. Re-retest mo ulit yon. Okay ba to o mas okay yung nauna? Again, mag-ano ka ulit. I-adjust mo ulit yon. For example, mas dadagdagan mo naman yung sugar sa tocino. Mas okay ba yon? So, i-retest ulit, retest the recipe. The fourth one, or the fifth one is the to adjust yield. So, sa portion naman natin, mas okay ba yung portion natin is mas malaki, mas madami? Kailangan ba, naka-chop siya pag binenta? Yan, so dun yon. So, after ng pinagdaanan niyang mga procedure, so doon, ang final result would be fixed in a standardized recipe format. So, kung sa tingin nyo, okay na yon yung pinaka-last na ginawa nyo, okay na lahat, sa color, sa texture, lahat-lahat and all. So, this can be already written in a standardized recipe format. Okay, so again, list down this procedure on how to standardize recipe or the process. Okay na? Naisulat na? Next tayo, sir. Next slide, sir. Okay, so ito yung ginawa ni ma'am na sa kanyang ano ba tawag dito, sir? Experiment or ayun yung tinry ni ma'am, no?
Thesis mo.
Okay, sa thesis ni ma'am. So, yan yung ginawa ni Ma'am Llagas. Ano nga yung ginawa dyan?
Bali yung ginawa ni ma'am is dinner roll. Tapos, ang thesis niya dyan is about adding nung makahiya tsaka pandan powder. So, from this thesis niya, which is naipasa din sa advisors niya, sa DOSTs to test the standards, sa critics niya. Ibig sabihin, itong ginawa niya, na-apply niya yung lahat ng development at standardization nung product ni ma'am. So, from the development, na-apply niya yung ingredients, dapat tamang ingredients, tapos siya sa procedures and methods, dapat yung procedures na is correct, right, precise, then easy to follow, then yung packaging and also yung end product niya or yung pagkakagawa niya.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, yan yung ginawa ni ma'am sa thesis. Dinner roll with makaya and pandan powder. Okay, so next slide tayo, sir. Again, next slide. Next slide ulit, sir. Okay, so yan, sa ginawa ni ma'am, na-apply din niya yung retest. So, nabanggit ni ma'am kahapon na sa retest niya, tinry niya kung mas per gram yung ginawa niya sa makahiya sa pandan powder. For example, yung sinabi ni ma'am, 5 grams muna yung nilagay niya. Kung ano ba magiging lasa nun sa 5 grams na nilagay niyang makahiya and pandan powder. And then, nag-test ulit siya into 10 grams naman. So, in-adjust niya. Dumaan siya sa retest. And then, nag-try din siya ng 15 grams. So, doon, tiningnan nila or nagpa-survey, kasama na din yung survey. Alam ko may thesis din kayo mga DIP. magkakaroon kayo ng thesis niyan, magpapasurvey kung ano sa tingin nila yung best taste. Kung ano ba yung papasok sa panlasa nila, yung 5 grams ba, 10 grams, or 15 grams. So, lahat yon pinagdaanan ni ma'am sa paggawa or sa process of having standardized recipe. Okay, so once the standards, the yield of the recipe should be adjusted. The common production yield required by operation. So para makuha natin ang recipe conversion factor, kindly list down. So we will divide desired yield divided by the current yield. Okay, naintindihan? Again, to get the recipe conversion factor, we will divide desired yield by the current yield. So when we say desired yield, this is our target number or target yield natin versus the current yield. Okay, next slide, sir. Ayan. So, ang current yield, this is the final product amount or amount produced. Again, current yield is the final product amount produced. For the desired yield, this is the amount that operations usually require or is capable of producing. Okay, so note, to solve for the yield, the quotient known as the recipe conversion factor is then simply multiplied by the quantity of the other ingredients in excuse me, other ingredients in the recipe. Okay, next slide, sir. So, ayan, meron tayong sample. Ang recipe yield natin is 8 servings, or this is also called the current yield. Then the production requirement or the desired yield natin is 20 serving per batch. So para makuha natin ang ating recipe conversion, so divide natin yung desired yield over the current yield. So 20 yung ating desired yield divided by current yield. Okay, try nyo yan sa calculator if tama. So, ang lalabas dyan is 2.5. So, that will serve as our recipe conversion factor. That will be our factor. 2.5. So, ayan, makikita natin sa baba. To get the standardized recipe quantity, meron tayo dyan sa ingredients, ABC. Sa original quantity nila, ayan, yung given quantity nila. So, imumultiply natin siya sa ating factor, which is, yung nakuha natin kanina na 2.5. So, magsimula tayo sa letter A. Sa A muna tayo 1.28 kilograms multiply by our factor, which is 2.5. So, the result or the standardized recipe quantity would be 3.2 kilograms. So, for the letter B or ingredients B, the original quantity is 540 ml multiplied by the factor 2.5. So, the answer will be 1.35 as well as the ingredients or the third ingredients 135 grams multiplied by the factor 2.5. So the standardized recipe quantity for the ingredient C is 337.5 grams. So did you get it, class? Nakuha ba kung paano i-compute ang recipe conversion factor and the standardized recipe quantity? Any questions? Any question?
Ma'am,
Yes?
kapag hindi po ba pareho yung ano, unit niya is i-co-convert po ba muna? Kasi po dito sa letter B, 540 ml is ano po yung lumabas? Ano po siya?
Okay. So,
540,
oo.
540,
So, tingnan natin.
1,350.
Balikan natin yung sa conversion table nyo. Ilang ml meron sa 1 liter?
1,000, ma'am.
Okay, so 1,000. Since lumagpas na siya, 1,035. So, isinulat na lang natin siya into liter. 1.35 liter.
Okay po, ma'am. Bali, ma'am, ang lumabas po is 0.54 po yung ano niya, yung original quantity. So, 0.54 times 2.5 po is 1.35 liter po. Tama po.
Wait, i-check natin. 2.5.
Ah, 10.
Yes, converted siya into liter. Kinonvert natin into liter. So, ang lalabas kasi dyan, 540 multiplied by 2.5 is 1,350, di ba?
Yes, ma'am.
So, convert natin into liter. So, this will be 1.35 liter. Okay na?
Can I comment, ano, ma'am?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Pagdating po sa recipe standardization tsaka development, kailangan nyo pong malaman yung mga basics ng computation natin. Since from the start from midterm and dun sa hanggang matapos yung finals. Kasi gagamitin nyo to sa project nyo lahat po. So, tulad ng tinanong ni Ma'am ni Remaline, tama ba? Okay. Kailangan nyo i-convert muna siya if needed po. So, ang ginawa ni Remaline is, kinonvert muna niya sa liters, tapos multiply niya sa factor. Same din naman yung makukuha doon. Okay, yung way na diniscuss ni Ma'am Kate, ml muna, 540 times 2.5, makukuha nyo is 1,350 liters. Or 1,350 ml po. Then convert to liters, maging 1.35 liters since ang 1 liter is equal to 1,000 ml. Okay, kung mapapansin nyo po sa recipe development, iba-iba po yung unit niya. Okay? Depende kung liquid or solid. Okay? Ml or kilogram or grams. So, para hindi po kayo mahirapan, lalo na po sa recipe development and standardization ng recipe, you can convert yung mga kilograms or grams or gusto nyo gamitin, convert nyo muna siya sa lahat sa kilograms, sa lahat sa liters or ml para hindi kayo mahirapan. Okay? Pwede yon, allowable naman po yon since dapat mag-come up kayo sa standard recipe quantities. Okay? As long as papakita niyo po yung solution nyo formula. Okay? So don't forget po yung mga formulas natin para dito sa standardizing and development of recipes. Okay? Clear po tayo dun. Kung may question po, again, pag kailangang i-convert po. Then, as discussed din last time, kailangan yung decimal point is 1 decimal point to decimal point. So, If it is percent, allowable po ang 2 decimal points. Depende pa rin po sa conversion nyo. Example, yung last time is may 3 decimal points yung conversion natin. Gagamitin nyo rin po yung 3 decimal point. Then the final answer is 2 decimal point po. Okay, thank you po ma'am. That's all po.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, required tayo na 2 decimal places. Okay, malinaw na po.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Proceed tayo sa next slide. I think Q&A na tayo. Okay, hindi pa pala. When the yield has been adjusted and standardized, the recipe can now written in a standard format. So, dito na pala tayo sa ating mga formats. So, the first is standardized, standardized recipe card. So, this may be used which can be in several formats. So, ito na yung mga formats natin. Standardized action form format. So, this is the most recommended, concise, and organized, yung ating action form format. Okay. So, ito yung sample ng ating standard form. So, nung pumapasok pa kayo sa school, ano yung ginagamit nyo? Ginagamit nyo to, no? Standard form. Tama ba? Ito yung ginagamit natin madalas. Nagsusulat ba kayo ng mga ingredients and procedure? So, sa aming first 2 years sa laboratory, so yan yung usually ginagamit namin sa paglista sa mga index card kasi sa amin required to be written in index card. So, ganyan namin siya sinusulat. So, ano ang characteristics of standard form? So, this is also called the traditional. This is useful for recipe with many ingredients. So, ayan siya. Yung characteristics niya, the title, use, and important information are on top. So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung recipe name, product classification, recipe yield, portion size, portion cost, nandiyan. Kasama na yung cooking terms and cooking temp. So, ayan, ingredients and amount are listed from major to minor ingredients. So, magsisimula tayo sa mga major ingredients natin up to minor. So, for example, sa adobo, ano ang major ingredients ng adobo? Anyone? Ano ang main ingredients ng adobo? Di ba yung ating gagamiting pork or yung ating gagamiting chicken? So, yan. Sunod-sunod na yon. Follow by the mga minor ingredients natin which are the oil, mga onion, garlic, ayan. So, letter C, the procedure comes at the bottom either in paragraph form or as an enumeration. So, kung mapapansin nyo dito sa standard form, nasa taas yung important information followed by the ingredients. Lastly, the preparation. So, by number siya. So, ayan, may kita nyo dyan sa number 1, add fish and bones, ganyan-ganyan, etc. Then, sunod-sunod na siya. Ayan yung ating standard form. So, tandaan natin yan kasi may 3 tayong forms. Okay na? Okay, next forms tayo. Next form. The second is the action form. This is used by highly organized kitchen, katulad ng aircraft and military service. So, ito yung sinusunod nila. Characteristics naman nito comes in the table in form of a table. So, kung kanina pababa lang siyang sulat, ito naman is naka-table. The title and important information are on top. Same with the standard. Ingredients and amounts are listed according to their use in the recipe, and the procedure are written across the ingredients, name, and amount. Okay, pakita natin yung sample, sir. So, ayan, nakikita nyo na naka-table siya. So, sa standard is mauuna yung mga major ingredients. Dito naman, kahit anong mauna, basta nakapantay siya sa quantity. For example, yan sa water. Kung ilan ang kailangan, nakatapat siya sa water. And then, kung sa methods niya, nakatapat din kung saan gagamitin yon. Okay? Okay po? So, lagi natin tatandaan, action form is in a form of table. Naka-table siya. So, madali naman tandaan. Any question? Okay, proceed tayo number 3. Narrative form. Good for short recipes. Characteristic naman ito, ganun din, important information are on top. Ingredients, amounts, and procedures are combined and written as one complete set of instruction in paragraph form. So, kung i-compare natin siya sa ating standard form, narrative form from the word itself, para kang nag-narrate. So, combine, wala tayong numbering dito na number 1, combine. So, yung may numbering is for standard form. Dito naman tayo sa narrative, dire-diretso siya, no? In one whole paragraph na siya. Yan, for example, combine the ganyan-ganyan, water, and add the ganito. So, dire-diretso na siya, no? Hindi rin siya naka-table. So, kung kayo ang tatanungin, ano ang form na mas best sa inyo or mas gusto nyo gamitin? Angelica, andyan ba ba? Angelica? Charlotte?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, anong prefer mo gamitin sa three forms of format? Three kinds of
Yung
format.
number 2,
Okay, yung table. Bakit gusto mo yon?
parang mas organized siya, ma'am eh.
Okay, so kanya-kanyang ano naman yan kung saan kayo komportable. 'Di ba?
Opo, ma'am.
Sa akin naman, mas prepare ko yung standard. Kasi may numbering siya, unlike dito sa narrative. Parang hahanapin mo pa siya ulit, 'di ba? Nasa na yung ganito, kailan i-add. So, sa standard naman, mas okay siya sa akin kasi may numbering na siya. Tapos na ako sa number 1, number 2, ayan. So, ngayon, alam na natin yung 3 kinds of format. Okay, next tayo, sir. So, ito naman tayo. What are the components of standardized recipe? Kindly list down. First, the recipe name. So, the recipe name, this is the descriptive and even creative name for a recipe. So, this is the recipe name. So, nabanggit na yun ni Sir kanina na dapat yung name natin is catchy. Yung sa ating gagawin. For example, naka-discover kayo ng sarili nyong recipe. So, gagawin natin siya ng recipe na creative as well as connected din naman with the product or the recipe. 'Di ba? Dapat konektado naman siya. Hindi yung sobrang layo ng recipe name natin. Next, the product classification. This describes under which category the recipe belongs. Okay, for example, yung naisip niyong recipe is categorized ba siya as in soup, stock, poultry, beef, etc. So this is the product classification. Third is the recipe file number, a filing number assigned to each recipe card for easier organization, storage, and retrieval. So kung mapapansin nyo dyan, zoom in natin. Ayan, may recipe file number siya. Kasi for example, meron tayong iba-ibang kinds of adobo. Adobo with gata, adobo with pineapple. So, mas okay siya kung gagawan natin ng recipe file number para mabilis na siyang hanapin. Okay, so palatandaan na natin din yan, ang recipe file number. Next, Number 4, the yield. This is the total amount of the end product or number of portions produced by the recipe. So, we are all familiarized with the yield. So, paulit-ulit na natin siyang diniscuss, yung yield. So, this is the total amount of the end product, ng ating yield. Number 5 is the portion size. Description of product amount of the product amount of product found in one serving. So, gaano karami or gaano kalaki, no? Sa ating per portion. So, yan yung portion size. Ayan yung sa sample natin dyan. Ang portion size is 5 servings. So, sa isang serving is merong 250 ml. Yan. So, yun yung ating portion size. Next, sir. Okay. In cooking time and temperature, describes how long and what temperature the product is to be prepared. Especially important in baked and roasted products. So, ayan, sa sample natin, cooking time, 40 minutes. Cooking temperature, yan, simmering. So, sa baking naman, di ba mapapansin nyo sa ating baking, ano siya, may nakalagay na bake in 375 degree Fahrenheit in 45 minutes. Yan, yun yun. Yung ating cooking time and temperature. Lastly, I think, last na ba to? Okay, so ingredients, a list of a list of the required raw materials for recipe. So, ayan yon, yung ating ingredients. The measure, an accurate description of how much ingredients is to be used and its measuring unit. So, sa measure natin, kailangan may unit tayo. Sa water, ilang ml ba yan? Ilang liter? Yan. So, kung mapapansin natin dyan sa form na yan, it is, ano yung form natin dyan? What kind of form is that? Doon sa 3 kinds of form natin kanina, sa format, yung nasa sample natin, sa presentation, anong form yan?
Number 2, ma'am.
Yes, favorite ni Charlotte. Number 2, action form. So, ayan, ang ating measure. Next. The procedures and methods. This describes the step to be undertaken to produce a satisfactory product. So, alam naman natin yan, yung procedures and methods. Ayan, nakalagay dyan. Heat and pan. Next, add and melt. So, yon. Those are the procedures and methods. 10 is date retrieve. So, in date retrieve, this indicates the date that the recipe was last viewed and changed. So, yan yon, date retrieve. Okay. Let us proceed with the question and answer. It is all about the topic that I have discussed, the standardized recipe. Start tayo, sir. So this would be recorded. When you answer, just say quantity cookery and then wait for you to be called and then state your answer. Okay. Let us start with the Q&A. First, what is standardized recipe? This is equivalent as your recitation. Again, finals na tayo, so mas mataas na yan dapat ang mga pointings natin. Mas mataas ang makuha nyo para ma-add natin sa quiz. Sir, you can end the record.